Namaste, dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Ken at 10 coming to you live as always on the 31st of August, 2023, the end of the summer. Can you believe what summer? I know, right? Last of the summer wines. See what I did there? WHIN. Yeah. So you're welcome. How are you? I hope you're well. Couple of things. I thought to myself, yeah, it's a good time actually to talk about, where we are in the property market, what's going on. And, one of the things that really bugs me is the number of housing ministers. We talk about all the housing problems and then we put people in charge of the housing market that don't stay in post. So in the last 13 years, there have been 16 housing ministers, more than one a year. How are we going to get consistency in housing policy when we keep changing ministers and the new minister will then take time to get up to speed with the nuances of what is a very complex subject, by which time they're off, move to another post, new housing minister, let's start again and get them to learn all about it. And I found out something about one particular housing minister that will remain nameless, and that is that I know a builder at quite a large firm, and that housing minister actually asked if they could come onto a site because they'd never been to a building site. It's the housing minister of the UK. They've never been to a building site. Can you believe that? True story. Apart from that, obviously, we've also got interest rates, highest rises since 1989. We all know what happened then. Recession looming. Do I think price will fall through the floor? Well, we'll come to that in a minute. But rents and government policy, anti-landlord government policy. These are the whinges that I want to talk about. Why be anti-landlord when what you really need is the supply of property? Renters Reform Act, everyone chastising landlords for being awful. Moving the narrative. That's what the housing ministers and government have been about, saying, the problem is all of these rogue landlords. Let me tell you, rogue landlords are a tiny, tiny part of the housing market, so small that it's almost insignificant. I'm not saying they shouldn't be held to task. Of course they should. But moving the narrative onto a small part of the market is missing the issue. The issue is we don't have enough housing supply for people to rent. How do you improve that? Well, first of all, you don't take incentives away from the very people that can provide that supply, the small landlord who provide an essential service out there. They really do. Most landlords are small landlords, many accidental. They decided to rent instead of sell. In fact, we've got a few new ones coming up now for that same reason, because the housing market is tougher. Another one of the last of the summer wines. What does it all mean on the flip side of this? Well, sales are holding up relatively well. We just agreed one literally this morning, and we've been regularly agreeing sales on things that are coming to market. It's a bit tougher, so prices are a bit lower. Buyers are aware that the market's a bit tougher, so they're driving a hard bargain. But sellers aren't giving anything away because they don't have to. Because whilst the market's quiet, the lack of supply is unbelievable. I mean, I just did a search in a quarter of a mile of a particular road in SW16, and I got 5 properties come up on Rightmove. 5 properties that aren't under offer in that particular. That's tiny. This time last year, you would have been talking about 30. So massive difference in the supply. And that difference in the supply means that even if the number of buyers have come down, and they have, there are still more buyers than sellers. So what do we know? We know there are people out there that want to sell, people out there that want to buy. And the twain shall meet. There will be a point at which people say, yeah, okay, we can agree at that level. So there is still a market contrary to popular belief. As far as what's going to happen next, well, looking forward to it. Tomorrow is September. As if you didn't know, the winter's here. And what will that mean for the housing market? Well, not so much this weekend, but we find the following weekend, particularly Saturday week, is when it starts to get busy with what I call the mums market. The children back at school. It's a bit of quiet time to get people out and viewing, and the time when people are thinking of finding their new home. And what do they want? They want to be in time for Christmas. This is a critical thing. Some people think of it as they want to be in for the new year, but the bottom line is that the end of the year is seen as a kind of I'm moved in by, or I won't bother, I'll start next year. And this is the dilemma a lot of people are facing. And of course, a lot of people are scared of the market. And you know what us Brits are good at doing when we're scared about the market? Nothing at all. Sitting on our hands and waiting. We just think it's better to sit and do nothing rather than actually take some affirmative action. And I would say, rather than worry about what the market's doing, worry about whether it's the right time for you to move, because most people have equity anyway. And really what you're doing is you're taking that equity, generally, if you're buying elsewhere, and you're just moving it from one area to another. So let's say you're living in Norbury and you want to move to Bristol, like one of my clients is at the moment, then you might say to yourself, oh, well, I've got this money here and I might be worth 5% less now. Big worry. But then think about it. The place in Bristol, guess what's happened to that? That's off 5% as well. So actually, there's no loss. You're just moving that pot of equity you have from one area to another. And if you think about it like that, it's much easier to move. It's much easier to get your head around the move. The lack of confidence about the market is preventing people from moving forward. The other difficulty is, of course, that whilst I've said that lots of people are sitting on their hands, it does cause a secondary problem in that once you have sold, because you will be able to sell, then finding is that much more difficult because there's less around and you have the opposite problem. So it's not as bad as people think. But I just thought I'd get my last whinges out of the year. And that's it as far as the whinges are concerned. As far as the market's concerned, it is a time of year when we should be thinking about marketing. If you're thinking of selling this year, critical that you get on the market, in my view, within the next couple of weeks. The market window for selling is very, very short at this time of year. And come mid-October, it'll be colder, darker. People will be thinking about the year end and Christmas and all the decoration shops and that sort of thing will be starting up. People will be thinking about the children and they'll be thinking about not moving until spring the following year. So you want to get a wriggle on if you're thinking of moving. And if you want to get moving, then you need good advice from a sensible professional. Now, there are plenty of agents out there that have never known tough times in the housing market before. And you can go to one of those and they'll put your house on the market and nothing much will happen and they'll lose confidence. And the thing about James Alexander is we've been through these recessions before. You can tell by my lack of hair, can't you? Many times before, we've been in this situation where interest rates are high, times are tough, people don't know what to do. And our job as agents is to instill confidence in buyers and sellers that they can move, how they can move, and knowing the area so well, giving confidence to buyers that actually their money is safe in property. That's really important, that they feel the confidence that it's not going to fall off a cliff, because it won't. It might change over the short term, but how long are you buying for? What, a year? What do you? It's not. You're not trading a stock here. This is a family home you're going to live in. And what's the alternative? Rent. Have you seen rents? They're through the roof. They're rocketing. So buying is still the preferred option by the majority of Brits. It's unaffordable and unreachable for many, sadly, but that comes back to other housing issues. We won't go into that today. But the bottom line is, if you're looking to move, you're looking for a new family home, it can still be done. It's achievable. I know a lot of agents will be saying to you, the market's terrible, you can't move, you can't do this, you can't do that. Let me tell you, if you've got everything right, you will be able to move this year. And we can help with that. Give us a call, 0208 679 8601, or drop me an email, ken@jamesalexander.com. Hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll be back same time tomorrow in September. Till then, ciao.